Welcome, welcome.
Hi, Wendy.
Oh, we're ready. Okay. I'm not going to waste any more time then. Thank you all for being here today. I am so excited to premiere Chelsea Speaks. My name is Wendy Mencia. I'm the program manager for Youth Elemento. Youth Elemento is under North Suffolk Community Services.
Hello everyone, thank you for being here. My name is Cristina and I am the supervisor at Youth Elemento.
Christina's going to help. Christina's also going to help me translate in case anybody doesn't understand. I want to make sure everybody understands what we're saying today.
Okay, yo voy a ayudar. What am I supposed to do? Yo voy a ayudar con la traducción para las personas que nos acompañan y no entienden el idioma, no hablan inglés.
Okay, so today we have a really cool lineup. So we are going to have a youth panel, but we also have 2 guest speakers. We are here with Judy, our CEO. And we also have Charlene, which is the Deputy Commissioner of Child, Youth, and Family for DMH.
Hoy vamos a tener un panel con los jóvenes que fueron parte del podcast y también tenemos 2 personas que nos van a compartir unas palabras, entre ellas Judy, nuestra CEO, y Charlene, where is, okay, from the DMH.
So without further ado, I'm going to invite Judy, our CEO, to say a few words.
Okay. Sin más, vamos a darle la bienvenida a Judy para que nos dé unas palabras.
Thank you, everybody. Can anybody hear me?
Yes. Gracias a todos.
So as we acknowledge May's Mental Health Awareness Month, I just want to thank everybody for being here today. North Suffolk could not do the work that we have done for over 65 years in this community if it was not for partnerships and the support of those partners. Today I want to acknowledge and thank DMH for the partnership that we have had with them in the funding to bring this drop-in youth center to this community. Very much appreciative of that opportunity. I also would like to thank a new partner, Green Roots, for the opportunity for us to apply for the grant that allowed us to fund this this project. So thank you to them as well. Yep, go ahead. Sorry, I was on a roll.
It will be a lot for me. So, queremos reconocer a todas las empresas que hacen parte de que North Suffolk pueda hacer muchos proyectos realidad, incluyendo DMH, incluyendo Green Roots, quien nos dio la beca para este proyecto. Si no fuese por ellos, por la colaboración que tenemos con distintos programas, no fuera posible lograr todo lo que la agencia ha logrado en 65 años.
And lastly, I want to recognize Wendy Mencia and her incredibly dedicated and talented team.
Por último, quiero reconocer a Wendy Mancilla y a todo el equipo por todo el trabajo que hacen.
The work they do every day, and this project is yet another example of your creative way of engaging and educating the youth of our community. So thank you all.
Okay, por todo el trabajo que hacen y el esfuerzo en enganchar a la comunidad en todas las actividades que se hacen. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much for your words, Judy, and thank you for being here. It's not every day we have a CEO with us, so.
Muchas gracias, Judy. Muchas gracias por sus palabras. No es común tener a la gente de la empresa todos los días.
It is one of the programs I like to visit the most.
Es uno de los programas que más me gusta visitar.
And now?
So we can't find you, Judy, you're hanging out here.
Now we're going to introduce Charlene.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I just want to say, I've done a lot of work in the Chelsea area, and I see a lot of familiar faces, and I feel like I've come home, kind of, here. So I am from the Department of Mental Health. I am the Deputy Commissioner for Child, Youth, and Family.
Okay, muchas gracias a todos. Veo muchas caras conocidas en este lugar. trabajo para DMH y yo trabajo para el Departamento de Jóvenes, Niños y Familia.
Yes. So I want to say this program, first of all, let me just say this. There's such a need for programs like this in the community, across the state, and DMH, it's a shining light in our world at DMH because there are no barriers to young people coming here. And that's so critically important, especially today. I mean, DMH, we're a state agency, we can be complicated in terms of getting our services.
Okay. Es muy importante para nosotros y también que DMH tenga programas como estos en las comunidades, programas que son de fácil acceso.
And so, you know, I can't emphasize enough how critical this work is. You are offering a safe place for young people to come and be themselves. You know, at DMH, we're the Department of Mental Health, so we talk a lot about treatment and diagnosis and, you know, a lot of stigma around mental health. These young adult access centers bash that stigma, and I just want to say thank you wholeheartedly because I think these programs are actually saving lives.
Okay. Quiero reconocer y agradecer porque programas como este que le dan la bienvenida a jóvenes y personas que quieran tratar un poco acerca de la salud mental, que sientan un lugar seguro donde estar, no es común, pero se está haciendo el cambio en la comunidad gracias a DMH.
And the last thing I want to say is thank you to North Suffolk because it's with your partnership that this is actually able to happen and you make us at DMH look good, so thank you.
Y lo último que quiero mencionar y agradecerle a North Suffolk por permitirnos y por la colaboración y gracias a eso se logra lo que el objetivo. Okay, I hope I translated that.
Doing great, Christina. Thank you so much for your words, Charlene. I think you being here it's amazing, and it's going to give us exposure to keep doing projects like this for the future. So thank you.
Muchas gracias, Charlene, por estar acá. Su presencia entre nosotros hace que continuemos creciendo en la comunidad y seguir trayendo proyectos a nuestro centro, a nuestra empresa, a través de la exposición en la comunidad.
So before we do the panel, I do want to mention a few things. One of them is speaking about the purpose. Why do we do this mental health podcast? Why are we doing this youth panel? And the reason is we want our stories of hope to have people or young adults or anyone to receive more mental health support. So not be afraid to receive more mental health supports.
Okay, antes de empezar con el panel, queremos explicar la razón detrás de nuestro podcast. La razón es que con nuestras historias de esperanza podamos inspirar a más personas a que no tengan miedo de pedir esa ayuda y buscar los servicios relacionados con la salud mental o servicios en general.
The other thing I want to mention is when we started doing this project, we thought it was as simple as recording and saying things, and that was it. And I do want to acknowledge my team, the Youth Elemental team, because I know with sharing your stories, you know, it became a little bit difficult just going back there for a second. So I do want to recognize that you guys did an amazing job with this podcast.
Okay. Queremos reconocer y pensamos al principio que iba a ser fácil, era solo de grabar un video, pero no, es algo más que eso y queremos reconocer a los mentores por haberse abierto a hablar acerca de sus historias. Muchas veces no es fácil ir al pasado y hablar acerca de lo que nos ha ocurrido.
The other shout out I want to give to is Alejandra, which is our producer, as
Okay.
well as our expert.
También queremos reconocer a Alejandra, nuestra productora, y a los expertos.
Every single person that I reached out to be an expert, I didn't have to sell them on this idea. It was literally, hey, would you like to be part of a podcast? And they were in. And that is because I feel like they really truly believe our mission here at Youth Elemento.
Okay. A todos los expertos que contacté, no les tuve que vender la idea de venir a participar en el proyecto. Ellos inmediatamente quisieron ser parte del proyecto y eso solamente explica que ellos entienden cuál es la idea de nuestro programa.
Last but not least, I want to give a huge shout out to Kiara and Tomas, our young adult co-hosts for Chelsea Speaks.
Queremos felicitar a Kiara y a Thomas, quienes fueron los hosts de Chelsea Speaks.
I want to recognize that you all had school, work, practice, and on top of that, you had time to come here and do this project with us. So that shows truly dedication to this project, so thank you.
Okay. Reconocemos que a pesar de sus responsabilidades, la escuela, trabajo, ustedes continuaron en nuestro proyecto y se esforzaron por estar acá. Y eso habla mucho de ustedes.
Bravo.
The second thing I want to mention is Youth Voice. All of you here, if not some of you, know that Youth Voice is our main driver to this program.
Okay. Lo segundo que quiero mencionar es la voz juvenil. Las personas que están acá sabemos que la voz juvenil es muy importante y es la voz juvenil la conductora de nuestro programa.
Our Youth Council lets us know what groups they want to do, what workshops they want to learn, up to how they want to receive their mental health supports.
En el consejo juvenil que tenemos, los jóvenes nos hablan de qué tipos de grupos quieren ver, qué tipos de talleres o servicios que ellos quieren ver en el programa.
I was having a hard time figuring out how we were going to do this event. I feel that every single event that we've had has been themed. Like New Year's, Dia de los Muertos, or whatever it was themed. And I was having a hard time just figuring out, are we going to just have people here, have popcorn, screen, and then leave? I feel like we needed more intention behind this event.
Para Wendy fue un gran desafío poner todas las ideas juntas, cómo hacer este evento el día de hoy. Siempre tenemos un tema para el Día de los Muertos, la celebración del aniversario, siempre hay un tema, pero para este evento en específico, no, en realidad no sabía cómo hacerlo, si tener el popcorn o cómo.
So one day when Kiara and I were actually practicing our scripts, I was venting to Kiara, like, I don't know what to do, what do you think we should do? And it came from Kiara to do a panel. So shout out to Kiara for actually giving us
En uno de los días mientras practicaba con Kiara el guión, me desahogué con ella y le dije, no tengo idea qué voy a hacer para el evento, y la idea del panel viene de Kiara. Ella dio la idea de hacer un panel con los integrantes de Chelsea Speaks.
And that just shows how important Youth Voice really is.
Y eso nos muestra qué tan importante es la voz de nuestros jóvenes.
All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to have the panel introduce themselves. I'm going to pass the mic.
Hi, I'm Kiara.
Hi, I'm Tomas.
Hi, my name is Candy. I'm peer mentor here.
Hi, my name is Kaylee, also peer mentor here.
Hi guys, my name is Michael Reyes, and I'm a peer mentor and recovery navigator here at Elemento.
So the first questions are going to be geared mainly to Tomas and Kiara. Then the second half is going to be geared to the peer mentors.
Va a estar dividido en dos sesiones. La primera parte va a ser para los hosts y la segunda parte para los mentores.
Okay, so here's the first question.
All right.
The first question is, what was your experience with hosting this podcast?
I had a great experience. At first I was very nervous. I didn't really know what to do. What's it called? One day just came up to me and she was like, you know, we're making a podcast, and she's like, you'd be the great person, and you know, I love talking. Clearly I'm doing it right now. So at first it was a little nerve-wracking, but as we got to filming and I learned more about everybody, experts came on, I learned a lot, and also like I just got more confident. So
Love it. Tomas, how about you? Want me to repeat it?
Oh,
Yeah.
you guys can hear me? Yeah. Okay, my bad. I don't know. Just that was so unexpected in the beginning. I'm not used to that kind of environment. Kind of sometimes I'm really like, I don't know, shy, but other times I'm like really like, you know. But I don't know. It was a good experience. I think I learned a lot, not only for like the themes that we talk, there, but I think it was a good experience to learn a new skill, like how talk with people and learn how to communicate with them, be more respectful, and learn of these themes or what the people have to say.
That leads me to the second question. What did you learn while filming the podcast?
Oh, okay. We talk about a lot of themes. Probably people are gonna see it like soon. Soon, yeah, soon. But yeah, it was a lot of like themes. But like the one that always stay on my mind is like cope. It's just because I'm not native from here, so I don't speak English very well. But I don't know too much words, and cope was one that I didn't know what it means until like I really found out what it really means, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So then I just stay on my mind, and that's one of the things I really, one of the words I really like. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I learned a lot. A lot.
Similar to Tomas, he learned the word cope. For me, I think, especially in like the first episode, I'll spoil it a little bit. We talk about grief. So I think we learn about the stages of grief and just talking about the importance of mental health and the toll it takes on a person and how often we can kind of like go between crossroads from feeling like we're improving from sad grief or going back to that dark time. I think it was just such a big takeaway. And I learned a lot.
Beautiful. That's episode 2, by the way, y'all. Read this episode 2.
Yeah.
Good
Episode
spoiler,
two.
good teaser right there.
Yeah. All right, next question. What are some common misconceptions you hear about mental health amongst your friends or peers?
You want to do this one
I
first?
mean, you can start.
Okay. I would say I don't need therapy, which is understandable, for each their own. Some people don't have a great experience with therapy, and that's okay. But being very close-minded to mental health can take a toll on anybody. It's very difficult to manage it, and sometimes asking for help is probably the hardest thing you will do, and taking that step is very important.
I'm also kind of agree with what she's saying, but like mine's more into like some people said, oh, mental health doesn't work or like doesn't is useless. And I think that's one of like the stigmas I've been seeing in most families around where I'm growing, and it's probably because they're ideas and whatever. But I think it's one of the biggest stigmas I've been seeing every day of my life is, and I think mental health is really important for everybody.
Thank you. Next question. What are some challenges that young people face today that might negatively impact their mental health?
Oh, you want to answer first?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you time. I'll give you one.
No, I mean I can answer it right now.
Okay, super.
Okay. I think one phrase that my mom used to say is like the education starts at home, and I think one of the main reasons why like some young adults are struggle is because some of their parents were also struggle, and it comes from a generation that like they didn't know about mental health. They think that was useless, or I don't know. I don't know. It's just like a big change that you see, right? So I think seeing the big struggle is like their families, and they put it like this line was like you don't need to go to a therapist, things like that. You don't need to like some ways of time. So I think that's one of the big things or challenges that they have to deal with every day.
Thank you.
I could totally agree with Tomas, as in generational trauma is very real, and we always have some sort of roots deep stemmed into our generations. I would also say accessibility. So when it comes to just money wise, that's why I think Youth Elemental is a great place, because it's low barrier and it's a drop-in center. So accessibility, and insurance is expensive.
Thank you. What are some barriers that might prevent young people from seeking mental health support?
Like, wait, can you repeat it?
What are some barriers that might prevent young people from seeking help for their mental health?
I mean, I think Kiara already mentioned it, like the money. Like, some people doesn't have the money, and it's a reality. Like the community in Chelsea, most of the families doesn't have the money to afford mental health or even insurance. So I think that's one of the big deals right now. Like, it's really hard to afford that, and to manage through to find a way to like get it for free or like at least with a good price is hard. And I think that's one of the biggest things, right?
Thank you.
I can't help but agree. Like I don't have anything else to say. Maybe just not understanding where to find the resources as well, which is something we cover later on too. Because I think for youth, we have the time sometimes. We just don't have the access to certain things. Might be money, or just because it might be poorly advertised.
Okay, this is the last question. If there was something you can share to create a better programming for young adults, what would that be? This is a loaded one.
DMH is in the room. So.
No pressure, no pressure.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Like something to change it, like something to like.
To enhance, to add, whatever it is for you.
Meanwhile, you think I'll answer.
No, yeah, I think. I can.
I'd say learning more life skills. Like, for example, here in youth, we do buen provecho. We're teaching kids how to, young adults, sorry. We're teaching young adults how to cook. We're teaching them basic skills that are helpful. These are things that we carry on in life, and we're definitely gonna need. Cause, sorry, but like takeout is expensive. Like, like $40 for one person or two people. Like, imagine if it's like 5 and more. And trust me, I eat a lot, so it's very. So it's definitely learning basic life skills. I mean, I think youth, again, they do a great job. Youth Elemental does a great job because it's low barrier. I feel like just being accessible and giving teens the space to just be and try to enhance their skills. Like, it may be music, it may be art. It just encourages them more and it helps them get out of a dark space. So I think learning basic life skills and cooking and other stuff really aids them.
Thank you.
I think something I really learned is like, is a lot of people like doesn't necessarily has to like study like for like being a psychologist or like therapist, because of course they offer the help for that. But like what I learned with like the youth mentors that are here is something that like also through your experiences you can help others, you know. And I think one of the main things is like don't give up. You know, sometimes you feel like, oh, I think I'm not gonna find it. I think I'm not, you know. And it's like sometimes it happens, and sometimes you're lucky. But I think the fact that like I'm here, and sometimes I think that like the people who come here are really lucky because they offer things that in other places are really fine to like to reach for. So I think that's one of the two things I would like to say. Yeah.
Well said. Thank you. We're gonna move on to the peer mentor portion of the questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is for the peer mentor. What barriers do you see with working with young adults?
You can say that.
¿Comienzo yo?
Dale.
Sí. Ok, Cristina. Bueno, las barreras que vemos como peer mentors en los jóvenes, pues la primera es el idioma, ¿verdad? Y para mí la segunda es el estigma, porque vemos a muchos jóvenes que viajan para acá, para un mejor futuro, y pues les han inculcado que la salud mental no es importante. Entonces, para mí son esas dos.
Okay, the two barriers can be mentioned as the language first, and second, the stigma. She said that when people move to this country, they bring within them stigma. There's so much stigma within the mental health. The second question for you, what impact has creating a mental health podcast had on your personality?
I think it definitely had a positive impact when I did this podcast, because I felt as I was doing it, it made me feel more comfortable but also confident in talking about my story. One thing I realized is that our story, it's ours. No one can take that away from us. And my mission doing this was like, I can use my story, even though my story was, my experiences were bad, right? But I could still use this to inspire hope. And I think that impact that I had doing this definitely was a positive point doing that. I'll say it in Spanish. El impacto que tenía haciendo este podcast de salud mental fue positivo porque me sentí más cómoda y más segura haciéndolo, hablando de mi historia. Aunque mi historia, las experiencias que yo tuve eran mal, yo podía usar eso para inspirar más esperanza, porque nuestra historia es de nosotros, nadie lo puede quitar de nuestra historia, y eso es lo más importante que alguien debe de saber.
Listen. All right, this is the last question. What advice would you give anyone considering starting their own mental health podcast?
Yeah, really good question, Wendy. The biggest thing I think is don't expect perfection. This was all of our first times doing this, and we all learned a tremendous amount, even from our first episode that we filmed up until the very end. So we just continue to grow and learn. But what we realized, like Wendy said earlier, it's just so much work and a lot of heavy work, a lot of physical labor, a lot of emotional labor as well. And so for us, it was, making scripts and practicing and working on technical difficulties we had to navigate through, translations, edits, while still having this center open and servicing the adults. So for us, like Wendy said, it was a big undertaking, but we're really happy with how it came out, and really glad to have been able to do it for you guys. I'm also going to say it in Spanish.
Okay.
Que no expectan perfección. Como Wendy dijo, es mucho trabajo físico, mucho trabajo emocionalmente también. Estamos haciendo, practicando, navegando dificultades técnicas, trabajando en transcripciones, traducciones y editando los videos. Y es mucho trabajo. Mientras siempre estamos abiertos aquí para los jóvenes ofreciendo los servicios. So, para nosotros fue muy duro, pero estamos muy felices que lo pudimos hacer para ellos.
Thank you. That's the last question, so this is the panel, y'all. We're gonna premiere We are right on time. All right, you guys ready? Yeah. All right, we're gonna turn off the lights so you guys can, see the screen. All right.
Hey y'all, my name is Kara Ramirez, my pronouns are she, her, and welcome to Chelsea Speaks.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Tomás, mis pronombres son él y ellos, and we are hosting today at Youth Elemento. We are so excited to be here. So let's meet the team.
Bueno, gracias. Mi nombre es Kaylee Bonilla, my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a peer mentor here at Youth Elemento.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Candy Magaña, mis pronombres es ella o ellas y soy mentor de pares en Youth Elemento.
Hey everybody, my name is Michael Reyes, my pronouns are he, him. I'm a peer mentor and recovery navigator here at Youth Elemento.
Thank you for the beautiful introductions. So, Wendy, why Chelsea Speaks? Why are you doing this podcast?
Thank you for that question. My name is Wendy Mencia. Thank you for having me here. I'm the program manager for Youth Elemento under North Suffolk Community Services. And I am super excited to be here, honestly. I think this podcast is so much needed in the city. But before I answer that, I do want to give a quick shout out to North Suffolk Community Services. That is our agency, and thank you for giving us the time and the privilege to do this today. The other shout out I do want to give out to is Green Roots. It was because of them that we have the funding to actually make this happen. I am going to read it off because it is a long name. So it's a Green Roots Storytelling Grant by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation for Culture for Health Prize Alumni. And to answer your question, why Chelsea Speaks, we think that it is very important to share our lived experiences. I think we've all had challenges in life, and I just think that it's very important to talk about them. One thing that I want to note quickly is that by speaking of our stories, it's not a way to bring back this trauma back.
is actually to take control of the narratives that we weren't able to control when it happened to us. So by speaking on it, we're hoping that, you know, we inspire at least one person out there. The other thing I want to mention is Chelsea's my hometown. Shout out to Chelsea. I went to school here, so I do know what it's like to live here. And one of the things that I remember thinking as a teen is that we need to work on a few things. And I think one of them is the mental health stigma. And the second one is youth voice. Like, I think that it's very important to hear from young adults and how they want to receive their services. And I think this is kind of our, why our program is so successful, is because we actually tailor that to the young adults and whatever you guys want to do. And lastly, Youth Elemento is a program here at Chelsea. We're right on Broadway, 289 Broadway. And we just thought the name, it just spoke for itself. Like, we're in Chelsea, some of us, if not all of us, work here or have lived here, and that's what we named it, Chelsea Speaks.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for sharing. And Cristina, can you tell us a little bit what is Youth Elemento?
Sure, thank you. My name is Cristina and I am the supervisor at Youth Elemento. What is Youth Elemento? Youth Elemento is, I will say, a house for young adults. It's a low barrier program, meaning you don't need health insurance, you don't need a referral, you don't need a mental health diagnosis to attend the program.
Even an ID.
Right, you don't need an ID, as Wendy said, to come and use our services. Our program, Youth Elemento, is designed to close that gap between the youth needs and mental health. Before we move on, I just want to acknowledge that Thomas and Kiara, they are young adults that use our drop-in center, and we would like to hear from them. I would like to ask them a couple of questions, if that's fine with you guys. So my first question will be, what has been your experience with mental health?
I want to thank you y'all because since I came here, that casually was a completely accident. I wasn't even expecting I was going to be here in first place. You guys received me with the best, you know, better than nobody else will ever do in my life. And you guys been supporting every single of my dreams since I came here. So I just want to thank you all for, support me.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing. Yeah, that's so nice to hear. What about you, Kiara?
Similarly to what Tomas said, thank you guys for welcoming us with open arms. Sorry, but honestly, just like you said, it's such an open space where I'm not forced to talk about my mental health, but I find outlets to deal with my mental health. Like, for example, like Kaylee, she does drawing, and I also draw, so it kind of helps that we work on top of each other to find that outlet. Shout out to Kaylee. Yup.
Thank you both for sharing. And my other question will be, what have you seen? What are the biggest challenge you have seen when accessing mental health services or services in general?
I can answer that question. For most people, it's really hard to afford mental health therapy. Especially when people who have really big problems. It became more like a business than a really helpful the community. And the fact that it's places like this that they don't find any payment for this, but they're just trying to help the community, especially young adults are the ones who suffer the most. And places like this, I think is really good. Yeah, so I think that's my opinion about it. That's one of the biggest challenges, and I'm glad that you've been approaching it really well, because I've seen a lot of improvement in most of the people who came here, especially myself. I'm sorry if I mentioned it too much, myself. But yeah, in my experience, I've been changing a lot. Even though I still challenge you with a lot of stuff.
What about you, Kiara? Have you experienced any challenges?
I think similar to what Tomas was talking about, economic restraint is very hard, especially because I notice a lot of people in Chelsea are working class. Rent is expensive and a lot of utilities sometimes. Because we are just trying to survive, we just tend to forget that we also need to take care of ourselves. I also think another portion of it is also just the cultural aspect of it. I think majority of for being first gen or just Hispanics, we often don't believe in what mental health is, and we constantly will have a stigma for that, but I'm glad places like Youth Elemental break it down.
Thank you. That actually give us, I guess, to all of us a great insight of what's mental health, how can we like approach that, the work we've been doing, and we still have to do a lot to change what you were talking about, the stigma, hacer la diferencia de una manera positiva, marcar la diferencia en la ciudad de una manera positiva y de manera individual a cada uno de los jóvenes. Ofrecer los recursos gratis, totalmente gratis a los jóvenes. Para nosotros, para muchas personas puede ser un cambio muy pequeño, impactar de una manera pues como sí, ahí están los servicios, pero para muchas otras personas que usan nuestros servicios es en realidad un cambio grande, es en realidad un aporte enorme que puedan tener acceso a todo eso. Candy es una joven que usó nuestros servicios anteriormente, como las terapias, muy importante, los servicios en general, y tuvo la oportunidad de hacer la transición de ser joven usando los servicios a ser una mentora para el resto de los jóvenes. Entonces para nosotros eso es una visión muy importante que tratamos de poner día a día sobre la mesa y llevarla a cabo. Pero bueno, I think that's enough, suficiente. Candy nos puede hablar acerca de qué es un peer mentor. What is a peer mentor? Candy.
Muchas gracias, Cristina, y sigo siendo joven. O sea, no pase lejos. Ok, gracias, Cristina. Sí, pues un mentor de pares, un peer mentor, es una persona que brinda apoyo y esperanza a través de su historia vivida. Casi no se menciona y es muy importante mencionarlo porque apoyamos mucho a los jóvenes. Yo fui muy apoyada por mis mentores. Cristina, es un placer. Y también es un placer ser la primera de cumplir la visión y la misión de Youth Elemento. Y bueno, ser un mentor de par o un peer mentor, como les dije anteriormente, es la persona que apoya y le brinda esperanza a través de la historia vivida, y eso es lo que queremos en este momento enseñarles y que ustedes nos conozcan a nosotros. También un mentor de par apoya a los jóvenes a conectar a servicios comunitarios. No solamente nuestra historia vivida va a impactarlos, sino que también ayudarles en sus pequeñas cosas de su diario vivir. Es importante recalcar nuevamente que ustedes en este podcast nos van a conocer a cada uno de nosotros y que se inspiren a través de nosotros. No, los jóvenes no solo van a ver que los podemos ayudar con un seguro médico, que los podemos ayudar con sus trabajos, sino que también servir de inspiración para que ustedes vean en nosotros resiliencia.
Gracias, Candy. Yo no pude haberlo explicado mejor.
This is what we're saying is that, like, you know, she knows how to speak for it because she lived it and she's done this, you know, so that's a perfect example.
Claro, estoy en acuerdo. 100% agree, 10 out of 10. I will say, Michael, you are also another peer mentor. I wanted to ask, why did you choose this work?
Yeah, great question, Kiara. I think for me, I just really know how important it is. It feels really personal to me. I've seen the impact struggling on your mental health can have on all aspects of your life. And it's one of those things where if you're dealing with something that's hard, it's really just going to spill into all the aspects of your life if you don't get help and support and find growth and progress and recovery for yourself. So for me, you know, I know what it's like to hurt. I know what it's like to feel helpless in your circumstance. I know what it's like to struggle to get out of bed in the morning sometimes. And I've seen just how destructive that can be when you're not prioritizing your own mental health. And so, yeah, for me, like, I just feel like I've lived it. And getting to work with young adults really reminds me of some of the stigma and challenges that I faced at that time in my life. And so I try to remember those things and try to be, you know, thinking about, okay, what were the things that I really needed at that point in my life? And I use that to kind of like guide me to kind of, you know, provide mentorship and guidance for you guys that are, you know, trying to go through similar things on your own. And I think for all of us, we went through a lot of these struggles alone. And so to hear you guys kind of talking about how Youth Elemento is like a second home for us, that's really telling us that we're just trying to do, that we're it's like gratifying that we're doing a good job, you know? Because that's at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that you guys aren't going through these challenges alone the way we kind of did. Yeah.
What you just said reminds me of my favorite quote ever. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? There's a quote, and the quote is, "Be who you needed when you were younger." And I think all of us kind of tap into that quote when we give out services and everything, because we're literally giving the young adults what we didn't have, which is like this space, this home, like, you know, this is awesome and we had it. I'm just saying,
It feels like parenting. Like, when, you know how like parents are like, you know what, I want to be better than my parent.
Like to give,
Kinda, yeah. But I feel like it doesn't just have to be like a parental thing. I feel like it's just a general thing. But also, thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing that.
So Kaylee, Kaylee is another peer mentor here, and I was gonna ask you, what is your favorite part to be a peer mentor?
Has definitely been building a connection with you guys. As someone who has a very passionate part of me with art, it's something that I've used to progress in my childhood years, and I've also liked to share that here with you guys as young adults and the program, and I've found it useful to build connection with you guys, with young adults who have that passion for art as well. We want you guys to feel at home here, feel welcomed, feel safe, and I feel like with that connection, it helped you guys open up to us and just express yourself. And with that, we can just see your growth and the success through and through.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Also, personally, me and you get along very well because I love drawing. You introduced me to painting. Also, like, Wendy too, like, she's actually the one that encouraged me to stop using pencil and paper and actually put something on a canvas and stop overthinking it. But I have so much fun here, and I think my favorite part will always be drawing. I literally only come here to draw when I need to do something. But yeah, what about you, Tomas?
Honestly, I think I mentioned it before, you know, I think it's music, you know, and that's kind of my main thing. And since I came here, like, you guys been supporting me since the beginning. So yeah, that's my favorite part, you know. Even though you guys are gonna see it later in next episode, they have a place that is completely acoustic to like play music and stuff, and it's really fun. And it's kind of my favorite place here because sometimes when I don't feel like it, it's like my place to like, you know, be there, you know, to like just be myself. And I really like what they did for me.
So having Thomas here as a tutor for those young adults is actually very helpful.
We are so grateful for giving us the opportunities to learn more about ourselves and just enjoy the privilege of just being here and able to relax. I have previously mentioned the word stigma, and I specifically wanted to know more so, working here, what kind of stigma have you guys faced?
Yeah, I think for me, it's definitely going to be LGBTQ. I think, so I'm going to just share a story that I haven't shared before, actually. So last year we were invited to do the Chelsea Parade. So we had a whole vision for our truck. So our theme was going to be inclusivity. So we put in like the flags. I know Kaylee made a brain that had like different inspiring words. And then we had the LGBTQ flag. But everything was to represent inclusivity. It was not a good day. It was raining. It was pouring. So all of our stuff got damaged. But it's all good. We were still in the spirit. We did it. We had you and your sister perform in the back.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I remember. I tried to go, and then they had canceled it twice, and I was like, did I just?
Yeah. So, I mean, we still rolled through with it. We still went through with it. We were still hype about it. But I remember that the young adults, they had the LGBT flag on their back. So as we pulled up from the lot, we took that left onto Broadway. And when I looked to my left, there was a person like standing on their porch, and they had like, I don't know, like their 8-year-old, 9-year-old. And as we passed by, they were like, boo, no gay, no gay. And luckily the young adults were facing the back, so they didn't see it. But when I saw it, you know, I put my window down and I'm like, woo, yeah! Because like the point wasn't to only promote LGBTQ, it was to promote inclusivity. And at that moment, it kind of put me back into like, wow, we really haven't changed that much, like as a community. And when I kept going, I saw the person, and that person actually went to high school with me. Yeah, and it put into perspective, like, it's not generational. It's more of views, right? And I think what hurt the most was that they were saying this in front of their kid. And this is just normalizing this thing, right? So for me, I want to start there. Like, I think we need some more work to do with that. And I kept it to myself because I didn't want to put a damper on the parade. Can you imagine, like, we did all this and then, like, oh, that's the first thing we saw?
That's horrible. Like, no, like, it's horrible, and you're not wrong. Like, even as somebody who's surrounded by so many LGBTQ people, like, there's literally been a flag ripped off from, like, a teacher's classroom, and, like, a sticker off somebody's, a laptop. So it's not much of a change, but it's kind of insane because, like, a few years ago, I didn't see the same, I guess, kind of, like, interaction up until now, and it's kind of scary because it makes me wonder, are my friends safe?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point because that's part of the stigma, right? Like, we have to normalize this because, like, you know, at least in this drop-in center, a third of our young adults are LGBTQ. A third. So that's a lot.
Well, it's also because for me, I'm always like, they're just a person. Their own gender identity or the way they view their sexuality should not be none of my concern. Regardless, they're their own person, and I feel like some people care too much about it. I'm like, yes, just worry about yourself, you know. But we can't always do that. How about you guys?
Yeah, I know you. Some of you guys had also like same or different ideas about their experience with the stigma. So you guys want to share?
Yeah, so talking about stigma, one of the ones that I kind of see all the time is men's mental health and the stigma around that. Before I do get into that, I just want to give you both a shout out. Thank you for sharing your stories, and I think it just highlights, even though there has been a lot of progress, there's still a lot more work that needs to be done, and that's why this center and centers like this are just so important. So yeah, men's mental health. I think for me, one thing that I've noticed is it's just a big issue in our society. Men in particular were taught from a young age that there's like this false narrative that to be strong or to be a man means that you're not allowed to show feelings, you're not allowed to ask for help, you're meant to just suppress and ignore things and get through and fight through, and like that's what real strength is. When in reality that can't be further from the truth. And so I think like I said, the messaging just starts earlier, starts early in our lives. And particularly, I think around our cultures, there's a big problem around machismo, and just like how that gets intertwined with our families and our friends and our cultures, and it can be very like damaging and harmful. Just kind of like having that narrative pressed down from our cultures and kind of generationally down. I think especially for men, like oftentimes what happens is we get targeted and bullied if we are trying to express our feelings, or if we are crying, or if we are asking for help. And that makes it really hard to navigate those feelings and kind of get the support that we need. So I just want to say to everyone, but especially to men, like, it's okay to have feelings, it's okay to ask for help, it's okay to cry if you need to. Those are all perfect, like, human, like, responses to mental health issues. And especially for men, like, it's important to be able to have a space where you get to do that. And so the last thing I want to touch on is just for me, I think that's why I feel really passionate about this work. You know, trying to advocate and trying to educate and support people with their own mental health journey is just it's really something that I'm passionate about and something that's important to me.
Michael, you remind me of something. Like here in Youth Elemento, we have groups, and one of those groups is a cooking group. So yes, Buen Provecho. The Buen Provecho group, what we do here is we cook together. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, we cook together.
Anything else in between.
It's not like, it's not like, yeah, because you're a woman, you come and cook. So the whole machismo thing, you're totally right about it. And for me, like the stigma behind mental health, it's basically, or not basically, it's actually more complicated than it sounds. The lack of knowledge. I will say people who doesn't know what mental health is, who hasn't been in therapy, they lack that knowledge, and so for that reason we have so much stigma behind it. For people that come to therapy, we have our clinician, she speaks Spanish, she's bilingual, y ella nos da la terapia a jóvenes que vienen de otros países, que vienen con esa mentalidad de machismo, con esa mentalidad de la terapia es para locos, la terapia es para personas débiles. Yo pienso todo lo contrario, la terapia es para personas que son lo suficientemente fuertes de reconocer que algo no está bien o que algo está bien, pero que está mucho mejor si voy a terapia y trabajo en esas cualidades que yo tengo y hago las cosas mejor. Entonces, that for me, like, therapy doesn't mean you're weakness, no. It means you're strong enough to be able to recognize that something is going on and it's totally fine to attend therapy. So that's what I have seen here, like, and that's very cultural.
Cristina, ¿cuál es el dicho de las ropas sucias?
La ropa sucia se lava en casa. And that's something that we hear all the time. Se escucha todo el tiempo. La ropa sucia se lava en casa. Meaning, los problemas que tenemos se quedan en casa. You don't go out there and share those problems because that belongs here in our house behind doors. So, no. We try to educate young adults, people that come through these doors, that it's okay to talk about your feelings. So, está bien hablar de nuestros sentimientos, está bien hablar de esto que no nos hace sentir bien.
So it's okay to clean the laundry here.
Of course, you can
I
be
mean, I'm doing it right now, but like, you know.
Literally have.
Yeah,
Don't expose me right now.
Puedes venir a hacer tu laundry, traes tu ropa, pero también tenemos una terapista que te ayuda a limpiar todas esas cosas que no están bien en nuestra mente.
Yo fui una joven, sigo siendo joven, emigrante, y sí, yo traía eso en mi cabeza de que no, ir a terapia es para locos, o no lo digas, o sea, tú estás falta que hacer, ve, busca qué hacer, y ahí se te va
Lava los
a
trastes.
Sí, lava los trastes, ok, el piso también, sí,
You
y se te va la depresión,
Oficio.
hacia oficio y se te va la depresión, no es así, y tampoco quieres, o deja el teléfono, porque sí, las redes sociales tienen que ver, pero no, es... Sí, es falta de conocimiento, falta de educación de salud mental, y una de las cosas que más me dolía escuchar era, tú solo quieres llamar la atención. No, nunca queremos llamar la atención, hay algo dentro de nosotros que no está bien. Y sí, Cristina con mucha certeza lo dijo, no queremos llamar la atención, los problemas no se arreglan en casa, y tampoco un terapista es para locos, porque la salud mental sí es importante.
Thank you, Christina and Candy. I completely agree with what you were saying, and I feel like the stigma that I see a lot is avoidance out of fear. And this goes back into the lack of knowledge, lack of education, not knowing what a diagnosis is and just labeling. For example, an individual is diagnosed with schizophrenia, an individual is diagnosed with autism, bipolar, you name it, people tend to label it. People say they're crazy. And because they're so they're scared of that, they self-isolate from these people out of fear that something may happen, or even they just don't give them the opportunities of that. And I just think this just goes back to what I said, the building the connection. We're not here to know other things about you. We're just trying to know who you are as a person. Build that connection, because yeah, maybe you're diagnosed with something, but that's not you. It's a part of you, but that's not defining you, you know? And I think that's something important that people need to understand, that a diagnosis is not going to define who you are as a person. It's just a part of you, and that's it.
Yo pienso que es muy importante lo que Kaylee acaba de decir, y lo voy a decir en español para las personas que ven que no hablan inglés. Nosotros acá vemos a las personas, a los jóvenes, como personas, como tú eres Tomás, tú eres Kiara, tú eres Kaylee, y no las vemos como el diagnóstico que ellos tienen, porque eso es algo más clínico. Nosotros no estamos acá diciendo, viene el autista. Entonces, es muy importante tener eso muy claro, y es muy importante para nosotros respetar porque para nuestra cultura, para los latinos, puede que sea muy común llamar a alguien por su diagnóstico, labeling people, y todos tenemos un nombre, y qué bonito es cuando alguien viene a nuestro programa, y son muchos, porque los jóvenes que vienen a nuestro programa son bastantes, y poderlos llamar a cada uno por su nombre. Es una tarea que tenemos difícil, porque es difícil grabar los más de 300 nombres, que en el momento tenemos 300 jóvenes registrados, y podernos memorizar eso, pero es una tarea bonita, porque somos humanos, ¿cierto? No somos un diagnóstico, no somos una enfermedad.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for all of you guys for sharing the parts of your own personal stigmas and what you see around. I will say I do agree with what Cristina said. It's often a problem when understanding that a diagnosis does not define who you are. Also, it kind of just brings back how sometimes people just forget a diagnosis can just help you better understand the person. It shouldn't isolate you from them. And things are bound to happen. We're all human. So regardless if that person has a diagnosis or not, we should always be mindful and respectful.
And every episode going forward after this is going to highlight each of our lived experience with different themes, right? And we'll describe the themes as we get closer to it. But this is the gist of this podcast. This is what we're going to be talking about. So
Yeah.
I am excited.
Yeah, and I know that it is the same thing that what Candy mentioned in the beginning, you know, like do the labor like a peer mentor, you know, sharing their experience and help them through that.
And if you want to learn more information about us, on the screen, we're going to have our Facebook, our Instagram, and our website. Our website is youthelemento.org.
Just to conclude, guys, thank you also for hearing us today. And also, stay on tune. Our next episode, we're going to talk about a little bit of the story from Cristina, la pérdida de perder a alguien que amas. So, whoever o cualquiera que esté conectado and, you know, feel related with this theme, that's going to be for you. So, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Thanks for watching y esperamos que lo disfrutaron. Ciao.
Chelsea speaks.
Bye.